What is going on, Alpha Hunters? Hope everybody is having a very marvelous Market Monday. There we go. Because it's a very marvelous Market Monday, actually. Looking pretty good. Nice gap up. Wouldn't have seen this coming, but there is a pretty good reason why. We'll take a look at that. Nice gap up here, about 0.8% of a gap up. We haven't really gone to where we've traded a little bit around where we gapped up to. A little bit of a pullback kind of started the day, nice little pump higher, and then kind of just faded slowly on a pullback over the past for about 2 hours from the daily high, roughly, and then been kind of flat here over the past hour. So yeah, there you go. It's kind of how the day has gone. Take a look at the Qs. Not too indifferent from the SPY. We got a nice little gap up here of about 1.1%. I just figured out I got the hiccups, so if I do hiccup on the mic, apologize, especially if it comes through loud. But yeah, I mean, not too indifferent from the SPY. Nice little pullback there for a couple hours in the middle part of the day, going in the middle part of the day. IWM, nice little gap up here. About 0.25% of a gap up, faded right down immediately. First 15 minutes, 20 minutes there, nice little pump, got back to neutral, and that was the last time it was basically positive. Maybe a little flick right here. Maybe it's trying to base here over the past couple hours. We'll have to wait and see what the afternoon gives us. DIA looks a little bit opposite. All right, DIA, nice little gap up here. Quick pullback, pushed higher, kind of got a little, topping action kind of going on over the past couple hours. So it looks kind of interesting there on the DIA. RSP, basically open flat, dropped initially there on the open, but has, just motorboated back higher to the day's highs. It looking pretty good here. Quick pullback here for the past 30 minutes, but very nice, solid pop, and then just trended higher there for much of the day outside of that quick drop there to start the day. RSP, for the most part, just kind of hanging out. Not a bad spot to be trying to buy the dip. Kind of mentioned this double top, retested this little pivot point back from March 11th on Friday. Kind of the same spot. We're getting sandwiched in between the 10 and 20 EMA. So since we didn't break down immediately today, you can almost say if you could play this either way, actually. You can just bracket the past 2 days. If we break the lows of Monday or Friday, take it bearish. If we break the highs of Monday or Friday, then take it bullish. Anyways, that's kind of the way I would look to play maybe the RSP for maybe a couple days of a trade there. Doesn't look too bad. DIA still kind of chopping. Very small day here on the DIA. Okay. Let's see, the IWM. Yeah, still holding below the 10 and 20 moving averages. Maybe we see a drop-off day tomorrow. We'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, we get some pretty important data this week with the Fed. Yay, Fed. Is there anything else that we get this week? No, it's just Fed. Mostly Fed. Pretty much mostly Fed. It's just Fed. All right, so that's about the one thing we really get this week. Q's got a pretty large upper wick. For how it ended last week, would have thought we would see some more weaknesses coming into the week. Not exactly saying we're seeing strength outside the gap up. Like the gap up is the strength of the day. You can see a little bit of an upper wick kind of coming in there. And we'll talk about the gap up here in just a second. SPY. Dang, that abandoned baby kind of action there on Friday looks brutal. Looks kind of brutal there. It looks like it would be that would be bullish, honestly. 'Cause you got this gap down, traded down here, and then we gapped up out of there. So, that could be an abandoned baby possibility. Obviously, we'll find out probably mostly on Wednesday afternoon. How this week is really gonna be determined. Since we gapped up so much today, maybe we fade a little bit as we go into tomorrow, or maybe even fade tomorrow a little bit and drop, just have a little bit of bearish tinge to the market. But maybe we don't see too much activity since we gapped up already so much. So let's talk about the big news of the day. Really, the big one is gonna be right here. Anyways, this is it right here. So Google jumps after report of Apple talks on Gemini integration. That was basically the big news of the day. And you can take a look at Apple here, AAPL, which is faded all the way kind of back down from the highs. Nice little upper wick coming in there. It did fill this gap down that we had a little bit of an upper gap between these wicks on March 1st to March 4th over that weekend. And that upper wick today filled that gap. Okay. Anyways, that's what Apple looks like. But I think that headline is a little bit more indicative of what Apple is kind of struggling with, what they kind of got caught with their pants down last year. So here's a look at Alphabet, though, intraday. Nice little push higher on the open, but it's kind of slowly giving it back the other day. So we can talk a little bit about this because this is I think this is a big deal. Honestly, I would probably just be selling this on AAPL. I think this is more beneficial for Alphabet than it is for Apple. I don't know why Apple would be as bullish as it is on this news, because over the past week we have seen AAPL now have two kind of pretty big headlines around its AI kind of business and methodology, or I guess what it's trying to do. And the one last week was they were buying, I forget the company's name, but they were acquiring a Canadian AI company because basically they canceled the car and they moved the people that were basically working on their car over to their AI department or division or whatever. And they then acquired a company, this Canadian company, and are going to put them in their AI division. To me, that basically says they have no AI plans. Nothing immediate, anyways. They might have a holistic plan, but to me, what this really kind of signified over the past week, and even with the news today on Alphabet and the partnership with Google and Gemini, is they don't have a plan immediate, and they see that AI could be a direct threat to the Apple ecosystem. And so I don't really know how much I would want to see. I think you'd see Apple be really bullish on this, and they're going to have some event coming up here in the summer, kind of talking about their AI plans, or they're going to showcase AI stuff. And I don't know what they could showcase, especially if they're trying to play catch up in such a big way. Like, what are they going to showcase that we really haven't even already seen from the likes of Adobe, from the likes of Microsoft, from the likes of OpenAI? Man, what are some of the other companies? Salesforce, Alphabet, Gemini. So to me, Apple is in a really tough spot here with AI. And even though they announced an acquisition for this Canadian company last week, it does still need to meet regulators' approvals. And that is something that a lot of these regulators have been hitting on over the past couple of years, is stopping some of these big tech companies from acquiring a lot of up and coming startups, growth companies, other smaller tech companies in the industries. And and a lot of those companies have allowed some of these bigger tech companies to maintain their relevance a lot more proficient than probably would have been before, or if they didn't have those acquisitions. Anyways, that saying, how does this Gemini Apple partnership maybe fit into the mix? Well, I didn't really fully I mean, look at this article, so I don't fully know everything about it. And I mean, it's just it. It comes out of Bloomberg. I mean, somebody could have just said something. Artificial intelligence engine into the iPhone. So this looks like it would be an iPhone, maybe an iPhone exclusive type deal. That's kind of where I thought it would go. Is they got to maintain relevance for the iPhone, because if they don't maintain relevance for the iPhone, that is their bread and butter to keeping people in their ecosystem. They don't have revenue. Hold on. They don't have earnings growth so much from iPhone. Their earnings growth comes from their services, which they got to keep people on the iPhone to to keep services earnings growing, and that's where if the iPhone starts to lag behind, especially in a key futuristic feature, this is the probably the area where you could see Alphabet maybe or AAPL Apple undone. I think the interesting thing is, what would Google do? I mean, if Google is in talks with Alphabet or Apple about this Gemini thing, I mean, Alphabet and Google, they own Android, which is obviously the biggest competitor to the iPhone as far as maybe not the phone hardware, but the software. That's Alphabet. I mean, that's Google. That's Android. That's them. So if you're looking at it from Google's perspective and you think Gemini is the best artificial intelligence maybe out there, maybe better than Microsoft's, Copilot, Bing, or whatever they're going to be calling it, Open AI, or I mean, whoever else is out there kind of competing in the same space. There's probably a lot of them, but those are probably the bigger ones. I mean, how does Google see itself compared to the others? If they see themselves as the front leader and they're ahead of everybody else, which I don't personally believe, but that is one where maybe Google turns them down and says, no, you know what? We think we can actually make up more by having it exclusive to our Android handsets and bringing people over from iPhone and the Apple ecosystem over to the Android ecosystem. That would be an interesting scenario. So obviously there's nothing official as far as Apple and Google's, in talks, right? They're just in talks. So there's nothing official there, but it would be interesting to see if Google if Google goes through with this partnership. So obviously you can see Microsoft only up 0.5%, nice little gap down, so they didn't really benefit from this all that much. And so yeah, I mean, outside of I think it's just going to be really interesting to see what happens here with Alphabet. What are they going to do? Here's a look at Meta. Not really too much of a huge move here. It's up 2%, mostly just on the gap. Amazon's supposed to be also doing their own AI thing. We don't really know much about it. They're up 0.25%. So, what about Tesla? Tesla's up pretty good. They're up 6%. Yeah, it's kind of just it got it made that run down to 160. And that was kind of what I mentioned. Like, if we break that 170, we're gonna make probably a pretty good run down here to 160, maybe into the upper 150s. But there you go. You get that run down to the 160 area, and we're getting a pretty good bounce. The really tough issue here for Tesla, since we're here looking at it, I'll just mention this. We're right into that 10 EMA, and we're also right into that kind of consolidation support level that we broke down last week. So Tesla, probably not the best buy opportunity right here, right now. But see how it sets up maybe over the next couple hours, maybe the next day or two. And if that was really an exhaustion type bottom that we had late last week, maybe maybe we make a run back up into the 190s, but for now, I'd be just sitting on the hands. And what about well, the king of AI right now, Nvidia? Well, this is the flattest it's been for about a week or two, week and a half, I guess, for a while. I mean, going all the way back to like late December, like it's finally resting. Man, so the one stock that has been absolutely carrying the market higher has now rested here recently, and that kind of coincides with, well, the Qs have been resting as well. So is the SPY. So yeah, it's a interesting time period. We're going to continue to see deals, breakthroughs in the AI space. I think the interesting thing with Apple and that Gemini Google story is, what will Google do? That's kind of where I'm at with that. The VIX higher open. It's Monday. Yep, it's expected. Surprised it's not a little bit higher, especially with FOMC coming later this week. Dollar pushing a little bit higher, getting through these moving averages, looking decent. It's at some of these lows that we did put in back in late February, early March, before we broke down. Yeah, that's a pretty big deal getting through these moving averages. Let's see, gold, GLD, up a little bit, and kind of even mentioned that before, that some of those days where dollars up and you still get gold up, like gold is looking really really pretty good, man. I still like how it's consolidating here, and so if we continue to push up here the next couple of days, this thing might really rocket ship higher. Let's take a look at the futures. How does this look in the futures? Ooh, oh, I like how on the futures you got a little bit better clarity. It pulled into that 10 EMA. So yeah, if we continue to push up and bullish here over the next few days, I mean, this thing's gonna look really good for a solid move higher. Wow. Okay. Let's see. We're currently around 2162. We're gonna have a contract roll here towards the end of the month. I'm gonna check and see. So 21. So the next contract, the June contract, is about $20 higher, 20 points higher than the current spot contract, which I believe is the April contract. I'm not quite sure. So yeah, there you go. Which contract are we on here? Yep, April. So yeah, interesting that the June contract is $20 higher. So it's like all the way up. It's like up here. All right, so spot gold, or even the next month gold contract, going to be a little bit higher. Yields continue to push higher. Yields continue to look good, man. They look good, and they're gonna top this. They're gonna break this top most likely here in the next day. I mean, we're getting like right there. It's not even all that far to take out the tops that we put in back in kind of like late Feb there. So yeah, yields looking pretty good. Ooh, starting to look, yeah, definitely looking like we're basing here. Maybe we start to curl up here, start to push higher in the 10 and 2 inversion, which will be significant if we get back to the non-inverted on the yield curve. HYG kind of just still in this flat, still consolidating here on this flat move. Maybe we get a clear direction on bonds this week. LQD down a little bit. Okay. TLT, yeah, makes sense. It's kind of just breaking down, her continuing to push lower. All right, take a look here at sector rotation. Makes sense. XLC, Alphabet, with that news leading the day. Also Meta's actually up 2%. They had a pretty good gap up, so they're doing pretty good. XLK Tech, you can see it started off the day pretty strong, probably mostly led by AAPL and NVIDIA. Both of those did pretty well, but you can see we've had just a slow fade from that first hour of the day, so not looking too bad. Maybe the market looks like it's starting to base and push higher here over the next couple hours, but XLY, XLK are underperforming. Basically, there's only one outperforming sector, XLC. Materials also underperforming. Industrials, financials, staples, healthcare, utilities, all underperforming. Biggest underperformers, energy and real estate. A lot of the sectors actually even negative on the day. As far as the intraday trading goes, utilities actually doing pretty good, up 0.2%. So they definitely had a little bit of a gap down. Okay. Staples also outperforming pretty good. Discretionaries looking okay. Financials, materials, communications outperforming, and energies kind of in line with the market. So is industrials kind of in line with the market there. And then you got healthcare, real estate underperforming, and then tech. You can see tech has gotten hit throughout the day, making a nice little bounce here past 30 minutes.